Shall I do the intro?
So nostalgic. It's the last Kharkanas episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, please do the intro.
Okay. Hello, and welcome back to Smiley's. Tonight is hopefully, possibly, maybe our last episode on Fall of Light. This is part 2 of chapter 26 by of Fall of Light by Stephen Erickson. Yeah, if you didn't know. We're doing Fall of Light! Yeah, okay. So, I'm joined by Maura. Hello, Maura.
Hi Lee, how are you?
Quite good. It's cold as shit over here. So we're having a lovely old time, discussing Fall of Light. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to part 1, pause here. You'll find it. We're waiting. We're not going anywhere. We promise. Okay? Good. So, shall we begin?
Yes, please.
So, where we left off was Mother Dark had just pretty much dismissed Emerald, right?
Yeah.
And we got back to Captain Kharkanas in scene 6, which I've titled Abyss Below Sentiment. Yeah, go on.
Basically, the war is over. So this last bit is just the aftermath.
The details of peace, as it were, yes.
Leave me out of it.
Yes. So, Kharkanas stands alone amidst corpses and soon-to-be corpses. Ibis had gone down not far from where he stands, and perhaps Draconis had as well, though Kharkanas doesn't believe so, as he had seen blotches of darkness spattered throughout the battlefield and heard a cry slowly dwindling as that cry was swallowed by the darkness. Further away, and up the hill, stands Lord Anamander, first son of darkness, alone, and is similarly approached by Urisander, flanked by his guards. Not as left, but formalities, and Kharkanas is not in the mood. He didn't have the chance to see Ibis fall. His and Draconis' charge into the melee had led to the complete destruction of his houseplates, and Kharkanas was too occupied to see his friend fall. He wonders if Draconis abandoned Ibis at the very end. All the satisfaction left to him now is seeing the shame in the Highborn's eyes, but that won't soothe the pain of loss. Now, put a pin in all of that, as we're transported back to the beginning of the battle, in a manner very similar to chapter 15. So, magic has been Elise and Torrens, and for all that it's been mostly self-contained, the two priests that were heretofore holding are not. Even Hunral was blasted back at the force of a detonation, and Kharkanas can see that one of the anti-priests, who is Cedarable, is now dead. Kharkanas and Draconis had ridden up to Anamander, who stands a man alone in command, even though he's purportedly giving commands and messages, and they begin dismounting. Anamander wishes to approach Endist, but is halted by Draconis. In normal circumstance, he will be able to match Ral, but as it stands, he is incomplete.
Incomplete, yeah.
Now, you may recall why
Should
that
I
is.
Speculate?
Sure.
And why?
Why?
Is it because of the thing he left behind in his keep, in Dracon's keep?
Yep, which is his finis.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
It's not anything to do with his gift to Mother Dark, the Terrandai, or gifting her the realm or anything.
No, though I suspect the two are related.
Could be.
But yeah, so he did say the same thing to Caplo, pretty much. Isn't
it like basically when he gives the Terrandai, that's when the spirit left in Dracon's keep is like able to come out and rape Sandaleth? Doesn't it happen around the same time?
No, but I do know that like Envy and Spite are talking about a spirit, a thing pacing and like walking around the top floor.
I think. Yeah.
Whether or not it's sentient or not and capable of doing what it does is not clear. I suspect the reason like Sandaleth gets assaulted is because Draconis had called it back to fight Caplo, which is what he tells Caplo. It's like, we talked about this in chapter 18. I don't remember its exact quote, but it's like, I would have killed you, but something interrupted my finist, so I guess we're going to have to do the fisticuffs route.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that's what's going on here as well. So
must we ever blame?
Must we ever blame Draconis, yeah. I would also like to speculate on, we've kind of talked about this on part 1, but I would also like to speculate that maybe Draconis not having his finist is another reason why he's not, like this permutation as it were is different, right? Since he's less powerful, maybe it's less pressing for another Assassinite to intervene, or less pressing for like Tiam to assemble or whatever. So maybe that's another thing that changes the permutation and allows Draconis to exist and the Dark Civilization to exist. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you.
And
yeah.
No, and do you think it comes up multiple times? Like, do you think like he actually like left the battlefield, or was he like forced to leave it?
Both. I think he would die if he wouldn't.
I feel like there must have been something which like compelled him to leave.
I think so.
Is it like
my understanding is that what Draconis did was like at the head of his houseblades, they charged into the advancing legion to halt their advance. Because what was happening is that the Hosps weren't fighting back, right? They were just standing there and dying. so the Legion could encircle them. So what I presume Draconis did was like charge into the Houseblades with his Houseblades into the melee, which leads to them getting encircled, and everyone dies. So I'm assuming that he left before he would die because he needs to survive. I don't necessarily think that someone forced him to leave. But we don't get much on that. It's not like neither Trist nor Captain actually talk about it, so I don't actually know.
Should we write down this for predictions for Walking Shadow?
Sure. Write that down, yeah. So, Draconis then asks of Anamander what he would have him do. He's not here to censure the first son, but he has drawn his sword, a sword he's purportedly named Vengeance, which, for reasons at least partly tackling for the darkness, requires of him a purity of purpose, as it were, and so he will need to surrender everything else. Hint, hint, wink, wink, dasm. Anamander is made curious by this notion. Vows have evidently gained veracity with the proliferation of sorcery. Draconis then ponders the notion of a righteous blade, though not in the manner of Anamander's vengeance or any husked sword, but merely one that's efficacious. Justice, Draconis thinks, must belong to the hand wielding the blade.
Really?
Yeah.
Justice.
Yeah.
Blade. Hand wielding the blade.
Yeah.
We finished this chapter. We can talk about it.
Oh, you mean that? Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. So, okay, see, this here, he's clearly talking about forging Dragnipur. But there's already, the blade itself doesn't matter, right? It's only the hand which wields it. Which is the whole idea behind the Hust Legion's ritual and realizing that, you don't lie to yourself anymore. There is no honor in this. All you have in your hand is a piece of sharp iron that's going to steal lives. So that doesn't matter. What matters is the reason you're doing all this. So a righteous weapon is just something which is held by hand, which is trying to give justice. Which shouldn't make sense because no amount of justice should take a life because that's just, it's just too violent. You can't have violence to justify justice. And yes, we're back to Kadaspala. Please go on.
No, it's not actually Kadaspala. That's heralding, but yeah. No. What I wanted to say, beyond that, which I do quote in a minute, but yeah, beyond that is, Herald talks of this to Rennek, right? When he tells him to imagine a new kind of armor, one that does care, a mold to change the set ways of the grown man and woman, a mold to force their bodies and the souls cowering within them to find a new truth. Draconis is like doing the exact opposite of that. Like, no, fuck that. We don't care about that. We don't need a new mold. We can do this just enough on our own. And Mora already brought up Sir Domin, right? Who was it that said, one cannot murder in the name of justice, because justice is a societal thing, and he did not want to be the hand of justice, because it is one that is ever bloody and often indiscriminate, which is pretty much what Draconis decides to do here, because he's an asshole? I don't know.
How mother dark of you.
Yeah. It's interesting to ponder Dragnipur for the future, since I don't think it's brought up again later. Do I bring this up? I don't think so.
I mean, I've not read your notes.
No, I don't think I have. No. Nevertheless, I think it's interesting to ponder Dragnipur for the future, because we've speculated in the past that Draconis had secondary plans for Dragnipur, right? In the prologue Memories of Ice, he talks about this, that, I have been designing a sword that has a peculiar kind of finality. It's like, I'm going to need to make some alterations in the final shaping. And then his whole plan, like Kadaspala and Ditch and all the Hounds, to make a godling that will take the gate out, presumably, to find a way out, and how Apsalara escapes Dragnipur by basically going through the gate herself. It's interesting to note, that's a big if we take the prologue Memories of Ice to be metaphorical, it's curious to note what that alteration in the final shaping, as it were, Draconis introduced, and when he did so. Did he do it simply because Kalar told him, yeah, you're gonna die by your own creation, dude? Or was it... Yeah. So, as I was saying, did Draconis introduce his alterations in the final shaping after Kalar told him that he's gonna die from his own sword, or did Draconis build this into the sword to begin with? Because, yes, Dragnipur does contain the Gate of Darkness, but that was presumably taken away after whatever happened in Kharkanas, right? We don't have a solid grasp on the timeline, because... timeline,
Oh, we don't?
But when the Sheikh return to Kharkanas in Desert Dreams, they do find the Heralding still partly pulsing or whatever it was. So I imagine there was a time between Ursander dies, the civil war happens between Andy factions. Anamander turns to a dragon. Draconis builds Dragnibur and then dies. Somewhere between all that, he has to put the Gate of Darkness to the Dragnibur. So I'm not really sure what his endgame with Dragnibur is in the context of Kharkanas, right? Because we've seen him build it. It's in Chapter 18 with Kapla. He takes one of the Panthers for like the chains or whatever. He's building it now. It's clearly something he's doing. It's clearly part of the plan. He explicitly says it's part of his plan. So I'm not sure, in the context of Kharkanas, what the plan is. That's it. In as much as Dragnibur is concerned, anyway. There's a lot more to discuss, so I should move on. Yeah. So Anamander then wonders what name Draconis plans to give his new weapon. Draconis replies that there exists something inherently chaotic in every weapon, which Anamander attributes to a lack of moral spine. Kilaris, hearing this, considers rather appropriately the possibility that both of these men are completely fucking insane. Draconis then asks him flatly, can he draw vengeance in its name and surrender all that must be surrendered? And Anamander doesn't really give an answer. He says that with Draconis here, they will lose the Highborn and with them the battle. Anamander says that Anamander plans to fight for Draconis, but he asks the consort that if he were to leave, he ought to take his houseblades. Draconis protests. First and foremost, he can't, and second, how dare Anamander ask? But Anamander simply states what is possible with no blame in attendance. Therefore, the two men will fight for one another, and neither intend to yield. Draconis leaves to attend to Ivas and his houseblades, and Anamander turns attention to the battlefield. So, yeah. Anything to add, per se?
Okay, so this just reminded me of this quote from To Kill a Mockingbird about courage. It says, courage is when you know that you're already defeated, but you still, go for the fight. So that's what these two guys are doing, right? They know that they're done. All of them, this entire side, losing side, they know that it's already done.
Yeah.
But, they still take their stand. That's all.
So I would like to raise the point, which we tackled in part 1 a lot, right? About how different this account of Kilaris is compared to Rise Heralds. You may recall, we talked about this a lot in part 1. So Kilaris, as we talked about, is the perspective of the multitudes. He is the unknown soldier, I think Mora said at some point. He is the stand-in for the entire army. He is the multitude. He is the fallen, if you will. And Herat is the posterity. He is the historian. He is viewing it from...
Can I say?
Yeah, go on.
He is the vast forgetfulness that we call history, right? That's what I think Renard says.
Yeah. He's also the culprit. He's also, in large part, the reason Draconis is in this predicament.
Thank you. Yeah.
A large part of his narration is played by guilt. The way he speaks of Draconis' love for Mother Dark is like, oh fuck, I made him choose between this battle and his love for Mother Dark. That's not very cool. I shouldn't do that. So he portrays Draconis as a lot more romantic than Kilaris does, because Kilaris knows him as a soldier, chiefly, right? Because by the point that Draconis has come to this point of, coming in and saying, okay, here, hi, I'm with Mother Dark, and I'm going to leave her, and I'll take my houseplace to exile and whatnot. By then, all is said and done, right? And he's no longer the consort, as it were. He is the commander of House Dragon's Houseblade, sure, but he's no longer the consort. He steps aside. So he takes on a new role. He talks about, righteous blades and how they won't yield and all of that. So ultimately, the difference, I think, is conducive to both people's characters. It's both very telling of how Anamander acts and how posterity views Anamander and how posterity views Draconis. And also, it's very conducive to, how the multitudes would view Draconis, how the his own soldiers, like how Ivas would view him. Like, dude, we're gonna die in 20 minutes and you're talking about swords and righteous swords. Like, who the fuck cares, dude? Come on, get on with it. So in that way, I think it's a very interesting stylistic choice, right? Also, the notion of a righteous blade that's inherently chaotic and ergo derives its name from dragons. Good one. Good shit. Good, yeah. Ultimately, what I want you to keep from this is Anamander, in both versions, is a fairly gallant bloke. And that matters because of how he's morphed into the future, right, from this book. So, Kilaris then dismounts, and he approaches his lord, who inquires as to what Silkas did to Draconis. Anomander then says that forcing Draconis to flee was unconscionable, since the choice Stilkas gave Draconis was in fact no choice at all, which is very much on point. More to the point, Kalaris was also party to Stilkas' demand, and actually, Anomander seems fairly nonplussed about it. He just goes like very well, and Kalaris is surprised because I presume he expected chewing out. Yeah. Draconis then reins in close to Stilkas. Words are exchanged, but Kalaris is too far away to pick up on details, and Stilkas, who looks shocked and dismayed, rides away to the opposite flank to prevent the Highborn from routing. He's much too late in arriving. Anomander places Kalaris and his houseblades under Draconis' command, because after all, Draconis is fighting in the name of love, and if there's a single cause to fight for on this day, it might as well be love. And though Kalaris decries his sentiment, Anomander swears to make the Highborn rue the day they turn their face away from love. There's a little Gardens of the Moon Anomander peeking his face in. Anyway.
Sorry.
So in the meantime, Kaladin has appeared behind the two men and claims that there will be no more sorcery from the Leosan. Anomander then makes her enlist, but Kaladin stalls him, explaining that his presence here will be necessary and to instead send forth his soldiers. Anomander doesn't take very well to this. Are their lives of less worth? But Kaladin at least vouches for their safety insofar as collecting the priest goes. He could vouch further by annihilating the Leosan, but it falls to Anomander to make the call, and fast, because Trace is fast approaching. Yes, a single command from Anomander can win the entire war, and we can, following Endless logic, call it mercy, a ward against future suffering. If, on the other hand, Anomander refuses, he will lose. The Highborn are already dispersing, Draconis will be forced into exile, and the Leosan will see Fatherlight elevated. Kalaris is curious as to Triss's motivations when contrasted to Kaladin. She does what she does for the purposes of balance, but Kaladin instead is willing to slaughter thousands of Leosan, and his response is simply that Anomander asked for peace. Kaladin would then see...
Yeah. It's a decisive peace.
Yeah. Kaladin would then see Rake turned into a tyrant in the name of purity, in the name of peace maintained at any cost. And so, Anomander refuses him, and more to the point, he refuses him by acknowledging that this war belongs to the Taist, and them alone, and it does not fall to Azathanai to absolve them of past crimes. He orders Kalaris to ride his flank, and he obliges, thinking all the while how Anomander just threw away certain victory in the name of love and of sentiment.
Sentimental fool. No?
Yeah. There are a couple of things I want to say, if you don't want to,
No, I want to just say one thing. When Anomander asks Kaladin that you would take this whole burden of slaughtering these many people.
Yeah, it's not mine.
And Kaladin just puts it back at him. It wouldn't be mine, would it? So basically he's the blade, which would have been handled by Anomander, and he refuses.
See? Very nice. Nice. Yeah, it's a good point.
Is this what Abercrombie wrote with the blade itself?
The blade itself? I don't actually know. I haven't read
Maybe
it.
this whole line is the blade itself has no blame. I don't know what it's supposed to be for. Let's read it someday.
Yeah, sure. So, first and foremost, I would like to point out that this line of reasoning that being made a tyrant in the name of purity is very reminiscent of how Galar Barris thought about the Forlogan way back in chapter 3 of FOD, which incidentally also described the idealized, or maybe not so idealized, form of Fatherlight. Nonetheless, this is Anomander's utter and complete rejection of the Forlogan ethos, which is at least something he has in common with his brother, because Stilkas also completely and utterly rejected the Forlogan ethos. So that's the Midnight Tides. Anyway, the other thing I want to bring up, which is pertinent to Kaladin's motivations, is, you may recall, the very, very, very beginning of this series starts with the following words. Do you know them?
The Forge of Darkness, do you mean?
Yeah, chapter 1.
So you have found me?
No,
not that.
Not the prelude, the chapter
There
1.
will be peace?
Yeah.
There will be peace?
And what is that?
Peace. That's what it says on the lintel of the house which is being built for Anomander. The whole,
No, it's Draconis' house.
It's been just 2 years, I still remember.
But that, there will be peace, is carved into Draconis' house, the Little Son of Dragon's house. And in chapter 9 of this book, Kaladin says when they arrive at Dragon's Keep that he will reiterate his promise to Draconis.
Oh.
So, in some sense, it's not just Anomander that asked for peace, It's not just Anomander that was demanding peace in the realm. And the fact that Kaladin offers himself here is perhaps, I would say, a test of character. That's why Kaladin basically tells him, yeah, it's not going to be my burden, I don't care. It's basically testing Anamander's character as a means to test all of the Teist. And I suspect this is not the first time he does this. I think Anamander may not be special in that regard. Rather, he is special in that he denied him. I think there may have been other people like Anamander who did not deny Kaladin in this instance. And that's what causes the cataclysm. So, as we talked in part 1, Anamander is a very, very large part of why this works. And I think
even,
yeah.
Triss mentions the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think in many ways this is a test of character for Anamander, and he passes and he succeeds, and that's great. Because if he didn't, there would be no Teist to speak of. So.
But do you know why he passed it?
Why did he pass it?
Because it's in his name that he's supposed to stand still.
Yeah.
His strength is in standing still, so.
Yeah.
That's why he passed it. They didn't name him, hastily rush into decisions.
Very
That's not
true.
His name.
True. The last thing I want to mention is that the captain of my heart also talks about sentimental fools.
Who's this?
Captain Scarabandaris.
Where is he? He's not even in this chapter.
Yeah, no, he's not in this chapter. He just talks about sentimental fools when he comes upon Narad in chapter 20 of FOD. And he tells, Halid and Tathlord to go fuck themselves, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, that's, I don't have much else to add here. That was, the second or third biggest scene of this chapter, pretty much. So, if you've made it this far, you're good to go. Yep. So, hello. Welcome back. We're now doing scene 7. Scene 7? It's also my flare on the sub, if you've ever seen me around.
Oh.
Yeah.
Captain.
Captain. Yeah, my current flare as of recording. Captain. The world's torment knows ease with your opinion voice. So, we are returned to the beginning of the earlier scene, past Kalaris' flashback, with Anamander having now struck the standard and awaiting Ursander. Silgasharin approaches, wounded and with naught but spite for the highborn and praise for the hust. Nonetheless, Anamander has struck the standard. All done. All for naught. Silgas's wound comes from Infian, who was a Menand, which is by far my favorite double entendre in this book.
Double? What's the double one there?
She was...
This means that she died.
Okay, no. It's, she was a Menand in past. She died. And also... The reason, I think you've caught onto this, is the reason Infian is so desperate for glory is because the Menand bloodline has been made synonymous with failure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Martyrs. They call themselves martyrs, not failures.
Yeah. So, she was a Menand.
That way, yeah.
Silgas inquires about the Hust retreat, which we know was by Warith's command, but he evidently doesn't. And Kilaros then offhandedly mentions that whoever did the signal the retreat did the right thing. Silgas is clearly no mood for platitudes and is a bit of a dick, and indeed declares that the world's torment knows ease, since Kilaros assured everyone that they're doing the right thing. Kilaros grows a spine for a change, and he pushes back, saying that they are the makers of the world's torment, with the only ease being death and surrender. Hunral is spotted in the distance, wearing a shit-eating grin, and Silgas has some fairly dark and sardonic pronouncements to make. He brings us back to Iron, the first glory of the Teist, their birthstone, if legends are to be believed. And I think I talked about this last part, and I completely forgot that week was later. Anyway. Yeah, so Kilaros then offhandedly mentions that he saw a dragon in the storm clouds, but Silgas didn't. He dispatches the captain to Anamander's Hasblades and takes off westward as though he would walk back to wise Kharkanas.
Yeah.
So?
He mentioned something like, line your refugees, get your refugees to line the streets.
Yep.
This lining the streets comes up again in the next scene also.
Yeah. About regrets.
Just regrets, yeah.
I think I bring this up, I think.
You do? You must have, yeah. Tell me about the dragon.
Right, the dragon. This was something I picked up on my 5th read, 6th read of the chapter. It may be incredibly obvious to others. It wasn't obvious to me. The dragon whom Kilaros sees is Solana, right? Whose aspect is love. And I think Endist calls to Solana as well. If you see me down here, please don't look. It was last chapter, probably.
Oh, you know what would be a perfect meme for that? You've seen that meme saying, "Oh, look away, I'm hideous." That's probably what Endis would say. Solana.
Yeah, and the reason Silgas does not see it is because he termed love a weakness, and so he has not known it. So yeah, he doesn't see Solana in the storm clouds. Poor guy. So,
True.
Yeah, scene 8.
Oh, nice.
Unless you have something else to add. I don't know.
No.
Okay. Scene 8. Why, I say, fuck you and your fuckery. I love this scene so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's
So I'm just wondering, why don't we see this line more around the sub and all?
I don't know.
Like,
The reason,
it's like it's such a perfect Kharkanas type
the
of
audiobook
quote,
delivery is amazing. It caught me completely off guard. I was listening to this on the train on the way back home, and I was slightly dozing off, and then like Edwards puts a lot of inflection in his Dahanar voice. So he pipes up, "Why I say fuck you and your fucker." I'm like, what the fuck? Holy Okay, alright. You have my attention, sir. So yeah, as General told us, Brazak and Dahanar have survived the battle, not without wounds given, and they make for the side of the road to catch their breath. Dahanar urges his friend to set sorrow aside, since there is no use in regret where they are now. Regrets line the road like refugees. What Mora just said. Very good. And would seek rationalization to feel as though they belong. But there are too many regrets, and too small a heart and mind to fit all of them. But they keep on breeding, and fuck off already, would you? No, set that aside. Regrets breed regrets, and at the end of things, they are absent dignity. Less than animals, akin to those who hunt for sport and kill beasts whose natural stance is dignity out of spite. Warring against nature is to war against dignity itself, and progress is in fact a descent into moral paucity and abject misery. Well, these guys are a ray of sunshine.
I mean, they don't belong to Fatherlight. So.
Yeah, that's true. Renar will later go on to say that we do not progress. It's not progress; it's elaboration. But more on that in a minute. Prazak asks, nay, he begs his friend to salvage him some hope. And Dahanar moves to settle a hand on his friend, saying, "There is this."
Yes. And, I mean, immediately the scenes after this are like these hopeful scenes. So they're not exactly like, I mean, they're sad, but still,
Yeah.
there is some hope. So that's there. So regarding regrets, I must have told you my very favorite quote from the whole of Book of the Fallen. Something to do with regrets when Cotillion says, that's Cotillion, right?
Yeah. It's Sebelogo House of Chains, I think.
Oh God, thank you. It doesn't matter.
House of Chains.
So regrets are as many, but the value lies in how you answer them or something like that.
Yeah, regrets are as nothing. You will learn that regrets are as nothing. The value lies in how they're answered. Regrets, yes, many regrets. Yeah.
Oh, that whole chapter, that interaction between Cotillion and Cutter is like so perfect.
It's very validating.
Is it?
Because Cutter is a crisis of identity, right? Like Krogus goes this whole thing where he doesn't know where he belongs and who he is, and whether Absalor loves him, and to learn that not only does she love you,
she doesn't.
Oh yeah, sorry. And his whole thing is like, does she love me? Did I do the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And why did she leave me? And then Cotillion comes along and says like, yeah, she left you because she wanted to protect you, because she didn't want you to do this anymore. And then conversely, like in the Bone Hunters rather, when he comes up to Absalor, it's basically the same thing. Like there are multitudes, lass, and Cutter loves them all.
Oh yes.
So
yes,
yeah, love, basically love. There's a lot of love in this book and in other books, and So
like overlooked, because of all the sappers and the cussers and the warriors and everything.
Yeah.
It's all just a big distraction from basically a love story.
Yeah. So one other thing I want to say about this scene is that since they mentioned dignity, it's nothing particularly new.
Yes.
We tackled it last chapter with Renar pleading with Arisander to make every law beholden to dignity. And Ivas back in chapter 9 quoting Gothos. Fucking Gothos again. I brought him up like 15 times in the last 2 chapters. I'm sorry. In saying, what value the civilization when it dispenses with the virtue of being civil? Prazak and Dahanar themselves descend onto indignity back in chapter 2, but wittingly, abandoning the bridge guarding the falsities of civilization under the stern regard of a historian to embrace camaraderie and perhaps dignity. We but circle a host of simple truths, friends. We're almost there.
Okay. What's the next scene called?
No more lies, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Having organized the retreat of the Hust, Wareth carries Rebel, who is mortally wounded by a sword thrust to the chest, to the top of the crest where they are to make camp. Rebel is on death's door and wishes to complete his idiot toll by cracking his knuckle for as many victims as he's had in his life. Galarabarus has fallen on the field of battle, which causes untold grief to Toras. Fair Hand was present to disallow her from taking her own life, the opposite of mercy, if you recall.
Yeah.
Which shakes Wareth. Rebel takes to cracking, He may have added another 4 poor bastards to the toll, but he hopes to still live, and ponders the gift the Bonecasters gave them. No more lies, not to others, but first and foremost, none to themselves. So, can I tell you, this is the only scene in the entire book in which I genuinely shed tears the first time around.
This scene?
I cried like a baby for Rebel. You have no idea.
What? Okay. I sound very callous.
I was so sad when he died.
Really? Okay.
I don't know why. I don't remember why. I do remember I was very sad though. Anyway, Wareth is confused since he's never lied to himself, and Rebel laughs. Is it then any wonder that he never noticed? Wareth asks one last thing of his friend. Why did he even bother being his friend? Rebel replies that he had it on his face. And Wareth sits back on his haunches, considering today's event. Lister still leaves, and he's not sure about Rance. Most of the Huss survived this day in due part because of his shouting commands until he grew hoarse, with Taurus nowhere to be seen till the tail end of the battle. Rebel never makes it to 37, and just like that, Wareth's only friend passes away. Lister comes up, just the two of them now that sit between the men and the cats, and the honourable man now lies dead. Lister couldn't kill anyone, with the same being true of almost everyone in the Legion. Wareth couldn't understand why, not until Rebel explained. Lister, however, explains that what he was asked to do and what he delivered to the Bonecasters was very different. He was asked to deliver absolution, and instead delivered this. No more lies, no more pretense, no more running away from who and what they are. Wareth isn't the only coward. He never was. Rapists, Lister says, are many things, but mostly they're cowards. He was in a prison pit, and was the only person open enough, brave enough, perhaps, or at least self-aware enough to not hide his own cowardice. Is it then any wonder that they hated him? Lister limps away, and Wareth's closing thoughts are that he forgot to ask about whether or not Rance survived.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm the weird one. There are a lot of other sad scenes in this book, God knows, we're talking about them a lot. But this is the one that made me cry a lot.
Yeah, it's so strange that this made you cry.
Yeah.
But, after the ritual, we are mostly in Wareth's head. And so we have the same feeling of mystery, like what exactly happened? What was the ritual? There is P&D, to some time we do enter their head. But since they talk like I don't know, the way they talk, you don't really get what is happening. And so this is where we find out that, okay, it's because the ritual didn't really work on Wareth. So that's why we don't really notice what's happening.
Yep.
Nice. That's very nice.
So, scene 10. The Lord is dead.
What's dead?
The Lord is dead? Question mark?
Yeah. Hopefully, by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Endest walks a lonely road after being recovered from the valley floor, and is approached by Pelk, who requests of him to aid in the consecration of a burial cairn. Endest isn't terribly thrilled with the notion. So many have died in the valley below, it almost seems funny. But Pelk says that the burial place isn't far from here. Mother Dark has fled him, since she is no longer confined to the Chamber of Night. Pelk then recognizes whom she's speaking to, and tells him that he did damned well, which, frankly, is something Endest really needs to hear. They walk through the impromptu Hust camp, up to a slope wherein another houseblade is filling up a cairn. They do speak, and Ransom says that nobody wished to cross him in the end. Pelk then asks Endest to consecrate the burial place of Lord Venesterade, who should be dead by now. God bless.
Yeah. This is the hope which Erickson has salvaged for us.
Yeah.
This is the scene of hope. So, okay. So, basically here, Endest's hands have healed. So, Mother Dark no longer uses his hands to look out, because she's come back to the world. She's interacting with her High Priestess. And so, there is no more role for Endest.
Yep.
And then there's this scene where he's walking through the Hust along with Pelk. And the sight of so many broken men and women was too much, and Endest dropped his gaze. All the scenes before this, he was going around happily unwrapping his hands and making sure Mother Dark looks at everything. And now, the war is done, and finally even Endest is not able to witness anything anymore. He's done. That was sad. It was very sad to me.
It was sad because what he showed Mother Dark is not the dead and the broken and the he says as much I'm gonna show her the battlefield before it gets blown to bits. I'm gonna show her the beauty of nature and all of that. There's nothing really here for him to witness. It's good. It's just oh God. Okay.
The sadness. Yeah.
Right. Shall we move on?
Venice is dead. Let's be happy.
God bless. Scene 11. He spoke of a bleak future. I go to meet mine. On the side of the road, Farrer Hen comes up upon the two captains, Pranzak and Dahanar, and informs them that she had Taurus Redan taken away under guard, lest she throw herself into the fray to join Galar, who died of a broken neck. Though Farrer admits that she could have joined the commander, were she able to hold a sword. Alas, Toras was too drunk to stand, so there was no point. Dahanar concurs, saying that everyone finds themselves vulnerable to the madness of their desires, where so much of their longing is revealed to be longing for death, and I would add, dissolution. Without the lies and pretenses to hide from themselves, the future appears bleak. By now, Dahanar believes the victors and losers must be almost at the city. Farrer feels like weeping, and has many, too many, reasons to do so, which is itself overwhelming. She thinks of Kagamandra and how she can't love him, not enough, not in the manner that she should, and how it will kill her. Oh, not immediately. Her spirit will be unable to go on, and her body will simply have to catch up. Prazak mentions gathering the Legion to reach to the supply train and disband. Dahanar replies that they have abandoned the bridge, taken a step and a plunge into the Dorsan Rail with no chance of surfacing. Ooh, yeah. So this is not the first time that we see the Dorsan Rail painted as some various kind of metaphor. It's been varyingly painted as indifference or uncertainty. In chapter 2 of this book, Prazak declares that the river takes every child of Mother Dark to his bosom, with no corpse being retrieved. Back in chapter 15 of FOD, Rise describes the bridges spanning the Dorsan Rail as bridges from an uncertain present to a glorious future. Similarly, Prazak and Dahanar view the bridge as one bridging civilization. Therefore, the Dorsan Rail here, in this paradigm, would represent uncertainty, an irresistible current pulling one away from the brightness of an ever unattainable future to a benighted yet constantly changing present. In short, as they said, from within the Dorsan Rail, the future appears bleak. No?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that Pharaoh's this speech about how she'll never be able to love Kagamandra, it's almost exactly what Toras tells about General Hust.
Yep. Kal Hussein, but yes.
Yeah, Khaled Hussein, correct.
And also, High King of my heart. No, I'm not. I'm not going there now.
What? Sorry, what?
The High King of my heart also says very similar things about being unable to love enough.
High King. Khaled. Okay.
Oh my God! What? Do you know many High Kings?
Yeah, fair.
So
okay, and then she sees somebody in the distance.
Yeah, she looks at this house and sees a riding party with a regal-looking, grey-maned man in the lead. She leaves the two men to rounding up the Legion, and she goes to meet her bleak future with her betrothed. Oh.
Can I just say, Pharaoh Hen, from the first time we see her at the shores of Vitru when she's like trying to hit on Spinnak, her character hasn't changed at all. She's the same superficial, useless soldier she was in FOD, like chapter 1 or something, and she's still the same.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think she's like... I don't remember what happens in the middle, but she's pretty much the same. Still railing against an unhappy engagement, not doing anything about it, knowing that, it's going to be a doomed marriage and accepting it. I don't know.
I don't know if she accepts it.
She's going to meet her bleak future.
I think so.
She's not saying I'm going to break up with my bleak future.
Listen. I'm not being very fair by saying listen. No, sorry. So earlier, like Farrer was talking in her journal. I don't. Sorry, I don't remember what chapter this was. But there is a scene in the Hust camp where Farrer is thinking about her betrothal and how Kagamandra is going to I'm not even going to ask for your children. I'm just going to keep you here until you rot, and you can do whatever. You can take as many lovers as you want. I do not care, just as long as you're mine. And then she thinks, oh, I'm Pog, my betrothed, who's over here and all that. I think what changes here is this is her chance to change things. I mean, be optimistic, right? You can't force love in that sense, but like Kagamandra, she too is now a veteran, right? She's been through war. She understands him. She knows why he is the way he is. Because, let's be fair here, Kagamandra's a bit of a dour asshole sometimes. He's a bit, he's a downer, he's gray-haired, he looks old, he is tired, he's exhausted.
Look, if he's good enough for Sharinas, he's good.
No, yeah, Sharinas is also the very same, right? Sharinas is also a veteran of the wars, and for all that she acts like it doesn't affect her, it absolutely did. They find camaraderie and connection due to their shared experience. I think what's happening with Farrer here is that she realized that the only way that I can basically fix this, not fix, because she can't fix this. I don't think she's ever going to be okay after this, but mitigate it, like help myself, is by finding camaraderie, by finding someone to love, by finding somewhere to belong. And I'm being a bit of a romantic here. I do hope...
You are, yeah.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that...
I do hope that Kagamandra is a bit of a better husband than she plays.
No.
No?
I'm rooting for him and Sharinas then Farah
Oh,
can
no,
go do
yeah.
whatever she
I
wants.
think Tulas and Strangers are a much better couple than Fire and Tulas, to be fair. Yes, that's fair. But nonetheless, I would hope that he proves to be a good husband.
To Sharinas, yes. Yeah, I hope the same.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, more pertinent news. The last time we saw Kangamandra, he was in his keep with his attendants and the refugees of the Wardens in chapter 18, where he was talking about joining the war. And then before that, when like the refugees came, was like chapter 14. So not seen him in a good while. If you're like us, in over 2 years.
No, but okay, but see, maybe it's not him who's riding here. Tall guy with a mane of grey hair could be like, I don't know, someone else. Reminded of someone else, some other tall guy with grey hair.
That's her bleak future, you know.
No, she can't see. It's dark, and she's not that much of a good worshipper of Mother Dark, so she can't see. Right, but please, I want Steve to get Sharinas and Tulas together. That's all.
I don't think we're gonna get Sharinas and Tulas together.
Shipping people in Malas, and we've not done that, no, because
I don't think we're getting that. Yeah. Scene 12 is the details of peace.
Nice.
Anamander stands alone, overlooking the valley beneath, and barely acknowledges Kilaris as he rides up to him. Silkas is set off on foot, for Kharkanas on foot, and Kilaris wonders if they perhaps should catch up to him. Anamander is not interested in the apportioning of the carcass, as Mother Dark put it, since there is no peace within him. Instead, he plans to ride to Andrist and to yield vengeance. He then turns upon Kilaris and asks about Pelk, wondering if perhaps she too will return to Tula Keep. Kilaris then offers to join his lord in the ride there, and together, side by side, they set off.
Happy guys.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
It is, yeah. I mean, by this scene, he's like, Anamander is so completely out of it. He's like, he's done with his whole story. He's already like forgotten Silkus, and he's only thinking of Andrist and how to make it right. So when Kilaris says your brother is on the way to Kharkanas, he's like so shocked, like, Kharkanas? And then no, he's thinking about Andrist. He will yield vengeance and call it grief, and then Anamander is in the market for a new sword.
Yeah.
I wonder where he can go. Buy a good quality sword at short notice.
Yeah, curious now.
Yeah.
So, which does, it doesn't inadvertently answer a question I didn't know I had. How does Andrist get the sword? Yeah.
Who? Andrist.
Yeah.
He gives it back, right? He's just saying it now.
I didn't think of that question before. Yeah. Oh. No, it answers a question I didn't know I had. Yeah, nice. So, scene 13. Sometimes it takes a child to do what's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just Galan just talking whatever he wants.
You know what this is referring to, right?
It's the next scene? Is it the last scene?
No. There's a few more scenes to go through, like 3 more, but yes.
No. It takes a child to know what's right.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, Rennek has made his way down into the valley, staring into the numerous lifeless corpses throughout the valley. Pain and death has twisted their faces, so he's incapable of comprehending or remembering the faces of the soldiers he's hunting. The night itself is strangely grey, with crows littering the field, yet even they are silent. He finds a body whose face seems familiar. It must be familiar, and he resolves to avenge Ginia. His ghost must be around, Rennek reasons, even if he can't see them anymore, so all that's left is to stab deep and into the corpse. But the leather won't budge. 2 women on horses made of twigs appear, and Rennek tries again. One of them interjects, saying that defiling a corpse is unseemly, and Rennek stabs the body one more time, ultimately concluding that he has adequately avenged what's been done, and decides to go home. The 2 women, Threadbare and Triss, provides bona fides. Ginny is avenged, and so Rennek, taking a cloak from one of the bodies, leaves to return home, thinking it's done.
Yeah. He too has yielded vengeance.
Yeah, very nice.
Oh, and him going and like stabbing the side of this corpse unsuccessfully, and Endest having his stigmata being closed. Do you see them? Do you see? It's like all your stigmata signs which are being like closed here because the religion is dying. There's no more faith. And Ursaner basically says that in the next scene. This doesn't mean that I'm challenging my faith in you or something.
Didn't think of that.
So it's very silly otherwise to have this scene of him trying to stab this corpse repeatedly and unsuccessfully.
I mean, I viewed it a different way, right? Yeah. It kind of reinforces what Herald was saying about him. It's like, you play at being a man, but you're not an adult yet. You may wear the accoutrements, as it were.
Yeah.
You may put on the mask, but it's too fresh. It's not yet molded into your face.
Yeah.
And it's also like partly a callback to his battle with Orphantal, wherein the heroes died last, and he dreamt of heroic death. There's nothing heroic about this. He just like walks up to a corpse, stabs it 3 times, and then leaves because even he can't conjure
It's
up a
done.
real good scene of what's happening here. What I want to mention is it's not theoretically impossible that the 3 soldiers Rennek is hunting were present at Torrens, but it's very unlikely, seeing as they were last routed,
That
if
they
not
died.
killed, by Narad Sheikh in chapter 17.
Yeah.
So, like Mora mentioned, this is the conclusion of Rennick's thematic arc in Vengeance and adulthood. He is too eager to wear the mask of adulthood, but like Herald said, his face hasn't quite molded into the appropriate shape yet. He can go through the motions, stab, thrust, slice, but a soldier, he is not, and vengeance is an unworthy path for him to pursue. The other thing, which I would be remiss not to mention, is this idea of witnessing, which is not new to Kharkanas.
Yeah.
Um,
To the entire Malazan.
yeah, it's quite important for Rennek to be witnessed in as much as he is carrying a burden that he can't really let go himself. It's not like, oh, I just spoke the fucking corpse 3 times and I'm good to go. No, it's important that he is validated in his hunt. That he's not dumb. He's not playing at being a child. He's not just a dumb child doing his thing. He's trying to do what he thinks is the right thing. And that's why Triss and Threadbare are here to like validate him and say, yeah, you did do the right thing. Don't do that again. Don't do it this way. But at the very least, what you did is not stupid or pointless. You did it. You can go back now. And I think that's very important. And it also ties into the next scenes. So that's important. Yeah. Anyway.
What are you calling this one?
The dead weep for him. Triss is mock indignant at the Dice, sending children into war. And this is where I cough, but I can't bring up a cough and mention Lahanis. But Threadbare replies that Renek's blade was clean. The dragons are gone, and Threadbare reminisces that she prefers things this way. Missing the battle is much better than participating in a stupid, pointless, banal argument that leaves dead on one side and guilty beyond reproach on the other. She elects to ride to Kharkanas and rejoin the Teist. Triss will instead ride to the forest to meet an Azathanite brother of hers, one with which she almost clashed, for he will probably know who she once was. Threadbare replies that perhaps not knowing is better, because who she once was is no longer who she is.
Yeah.
Triss agrees, but nonetheless, it's important that they meet, if only to get the details of whoever it was that stayed Kaladin's hand and perhaps saved the world. And this is where I remind people that I believe Adamander, Kaladin, and Triss traveled together at some point, and all 3 characters were also played by Steve at the same time. I don't know how that would work. Anyway.
Oh, I thought it was always Envy.
Envy, I think, was an NPC. I think Rake, Kaladin, and Triss were also all 3 characters that like Steve was playing at the same time. And the same is true of a few like squads that they had. Like they would control their squads. Not terribly relevant. I'm just mentioning it because they're gonna group up again eventually, just not now. Anyway, so like we were, Threadbare reluctantly agrees. The forest is along the way to Kharkanas anyway, and she thinks that Rennek did it right. With Triss replying that the dead weep for him in envy. So we've discussed this a lot, and this does in part answer, what changed in this permutation. Adamander stayed Kaladin's hand.
Yeah.
It also is a very nice coming into his own, because Kharkanas, newsflash, may not have been Adamandaris, but it was very much a learning experience, a growing experience for Adamander, and this is his chance to show himself that he is more than just words. When, in Chapter 9 again, Kaladin asks him to assemble the necessities of proper rule, I think it was. And then he lists off a few things, like, wisdom is surrender to complexity, chew it up, spit it out for other people to understand, whatnot. And then, like, Kaladin's like, you yearn for liberty. It's like, no, I yearn for responsibility. This is that. This is him accepting and acknowledging responsibility. This is Adamander having a spine. This is good. This is why people like Adamander. This is why they banned the Ramparts, you asshole.
So, it's his origin story, right? It's this big superhero's origin story. Okay, so this line where Threadbare says, whoever you were isn't who you are now. I don't know, for some reason, this was like reminding me of Alice in Wonderland. It's some of these whimsical stories, right? Saying, or Oz maybe. So now, have you like ever written anything about Triss and what constitutes identity?
No.
She's basically lost her entire memory and she's just working on instinct, right?
No, I've not
instinct
written
and some
anything like
amount of
that.
magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to look.
Identity. Not necessarily like related to this, but Red Mask is a very interesting exploration of identity, as is Korik from the Bone Hunters, but not in this way. Not in I lost my memories and I don't remember who I am kind of way. But yeah, I could. Maybe I should. So we are getting near the end. We have like 2 scenes plus the epilogue.
Will you like stop grinning now, or only after we finish? There will be justice.
Only after I finish. Okay, so heretofore I have made like 28 notes. I finished with around 46, 43. So I have like 15 more notes in 2 scenes. This is gonna take some time.
Okay.
Yeah. So shall we begin?
Yes, please.
Okay. This will be suitably written, as befits such an occasion. So it's only befitting, perhaps, that Renard, who both opened the novel, closes it as well. More to the point, it is in my eyes incredibly fitting that a character whose function is cutting through the falsities and the bullshit is the vessel with which Galan chooses to deliver the scene of the wedding, when he could just as well have selected, say, Raisarat, like he did for the battle.
Or Sintara.
Or Centaura. And this is no accident, and together we will discover why. So, Renard follows Vatha Urasander into the old throne room, adorned in a manner described in Scene 5, Part 1, with the 2 opposite aspects light and dark, having reached some belabored status quo of mutual acceptance. Urasander may speak of this as definition through opposition.
Yeah.
Now,
what is light? The absence of dark. What is dark? Absence of light.
Yeah. See? Now, this is not itself a new concept, not within our world, nor is it within the Malazan world. Balance is a key aspect of the motivations of Azathanai, and also, according to Kichain mysticism, for there to be one face, one god, one something, there must be another. Even here, even when full of light, the Kichain have taken to speaking of forces in opposition, even if Skillen treats that notion as somewhat contemptuous. Nonetheless, here, what this definition achieves is the necessitation of the existence of both forces. Delusions among Centaura and Ral's ilk held that light will triumph and wholly vanquish darkness, which, simply put, cannot be the case. That's what's being implied here, though I doubt Centaura or Ral care enough to catch the metaphor. Now, I would be remiss not to mention that even though they probably won't catch the metaphor, Olorethel was kind enough to explain this to Hunral, when she basically told him, like, no, you idiot, you can't vanquish dark. That's not how any of this works. Stop trying. When he forged the Scepter of Light, but not particularly relevant. I just mentioned it for posterity. So, one of the thrones is resplendent to the extent of being blinding, whereas the other is empty and emanates negation. Mother Dark was seated on the second throne, so now she stands to receive Father Light. The 2 priestesses mirror the disposition of the thrones. Centaura is adorned with brocades, with sunburned patterns, and heavy makeup, whereas Emerald is plainly dressed, absent any makeup, looking plain and frankly distressed. This moment is itself superficial, shallow. Yeah.
Is that some kind of commentary that Mother Dark, I mean, we know that this is a heavily patriarchal society. Okay. And Mother Dark is the one who is being like, I mean, they're both being forced into this marriage, but it is his high priestess who is all dressed up and made up and is the victor here. Mm-hmm. And it is her high priestess who is like part of the defeated side. Mm-hmm. And she's not dressed up, or she looks sad with deep lines, plain robes. I don't know. It should have some significance, right?
It does.
She's the one who is...
I'm not sure if it's a comedy and a commentary on the patriarchy inherent in Gilgalain. It's significant in as much as they're both representative of their aspects, right? Centaura is so blinding. She's like resplendent. She's extra so as to hide any imperfections, right? Because she has gods all over her face. Mm. Whereas Emerald Lanier doesn't care if she hides her imperfections because her aspect do it for her, right? I think Renard says that she invites darkness. So in that sense, it is significant. And it's also, also yet another thing that adds to the falsity of the whole thing, that Emerald didn't even bother to dress up.
Yeah.
She doesn't even bother to. She shows up high, dressed with a tunic, and like, hi. Yeah. So, yeah. No, it's important. It's important.
Go on, please.
Yeah. Urasander pauses before her, and she moves to the brazier near where Hunral stands. She being Renard. Sorry.
Renard.
Yeah. The destruent is a personalized and anthropomorphized reminder of the occasion's falsity. He is bloodless, he is incessantly shaking and constantly drinking, with a shit-eating grin plastered all over his face, whispering of triumph. Renard views the scene as a whole and wonders how it will be seen in posterity. Necessity's bared teeth transformed into smiles of joy in the centuries to come. I really like that line.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. Yeah.
The only person she can find in the chamber that may be thinking the same is Rais Horat, a historian that's grown traded towards his own art, lecturing with as much vigor as an anatomist lecturing surgeons. And I think Mora has some choice words about that as well.
Yeah. Okay, see, at first glance, this sounds like, yeah, this is right. Why would an anatomist, what business does an anatomist who deals with lifeless bodies, what business does he have lecturing to surgeons? But that's how it works. That's how learning works. The anatomist is the one who has spent like years and years dissecting bodies and learning every nuance of it so that a surgeon might be able to do it much more efficiently. So it's not really the way it's meant. But then I can see the metaphor, but I don't like it.
Please explain the metaphor.
I have friends in anatomy. They are very nice. So I don't want them to be like said as if, oh, you're just lecturing surgeons. Who are you to lecture surgeons? That's not the way it works. Surgeons should have, actually, residency should include a couple of months of anatomy posting, which doesn't really happen in Indian curriculum, which I'm very sad. I want surgeons to be posted to anatomy. Mm-hmm. They do have basic medical sciences, but it's not sufficient. They should have more focused anatomy postings.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the choice words I have.
Thank you. Yeah. There's nowhere to run when even historians grow tired of repeated failure. Recall at the very start of the chapter what I said I would quote many times. Rise asking, what willful idiocy obtains? And see that Renard is indeed correct, unless one chooses to live a life insensate. Now,
and then who does she see as soon as she say insensate?
Hunral, obviously. Yeah, so Hunral and Rais Horat are standing effectively opposite one another. This we're away for symbolism.
Yes. Ooh.
Yeah, but Ersander steps into the fore, halting halfway before the day. Or the days, day. I'll go day.
I see days.
Mother Dark wishes to speak, declaring that this will be appropriately remembered, as befits the occasion, but for the moment she is in a pensive mood and is not inclined towards celebration. Ersander replies that once upon a time, he petitioned the Highborn and herself in the name of justice. This was no challenge of his faith, and indeed, the challenge came from elsewhere. He finds himself therefore unable to dismiss his title of Father Light. But this was not, and remains not, what he asked for. Mother Dark replies that the ceremony is not her response to his request for justice, and the two deities seem to reach some common understanding.
What's that understanding? That the rest of the people have basically lost the plot. Mm-hmm. It all started with him asking for justice, and then she was supposed to give an answer which she didn't, and it has led to this. Now he's suddenly Father Light, which nobody asked for. Mm-hmm. So that is what the basic question remains unanswered, but they have a new answer which nobody wanted. Yeah. So they are understood. Yeah. Pretty good.
So, this is something I've wanted to write about in the past, but I never actually got around to it because, But in this scene and in the following scene, how I want you to view this is like Ersander is going through a checklist, a mental checklist perhaps. He's ticking things off.
Is it?
Both for himself and for posterity. He ensures that his motivations and his desires are understood, since they will be twisted in the official versions anyhow. He makes good on his momentary obligations in naming a circus heir, and he seeks commiseration from the only person who finds himself in a similar position to himself. Simultaneously, he does go through the motions as befits a deity, posing for posterity, as it were. Now, this is perhaps more fitting later, but I have a quote here from Aparal Forge, one of the Leosan in The Crippled God, who speaks regarding his deity. And he says, "Dear Father, did you really mean this to be? Did she not abandon her consort and take you for her own? Did he not command us to peace? Did he not say to us that we children must be as one beneath a newborn sky of reunion? What crime awoke us to this? I can't even remember." So,
oh my god.
Ersander is simultaneously correct in that his words will inevitably be twisted, but also, what spurs the Leosan onward isn't even any pretense of holding to his own words anymore. So, I've written about this as well. Quick note, this isn't at all relevant to the rest of the story, but the, I suppose, king of the Leosan in the Crippled God, like Kadagar Fount, right, is part of the Iskin line himself, at least maternally, right? Because his great-grandmother is Serap of the Iskin line, so he is maternally related to Hunral. And so, the fact that Kadagar and Aparal and all the others eat shit by Yadan and the Sheikh is a very much later deliverance of justice unto these people. And it also means that there has probably been a civil war amidst the Leosan, where they are split between those who worship Usurk and those who don't. We see, for example, Jorod and company, who are like the slapstick comedy group and get beaten around, and they are seneschals to Usurk, but Khadgar has explicitly rejected him entirely, which ties into, at least partly, the fact that Hunral basically outright and overtly threatens him here. Anyway, not very relevant. I bring this up mostly because I wrote about it a while ago, and I felt like I should bring this up again. Mother Dark then commands Rais Harat to take the two priestesses and concoct a marriage to celebrate, while also requesting of Renar that she voice a vow to never speak of what has taken place here. Renar, ever willing to partake in such sardonic matters, replies that already she sees the guild on her newfound memories. Ursander then interjects and says that Renar is his adopted daughter. His son may inherit all that he possesses, but Renar's indulgence of his old man's affectation in calling her his daughter. And rather,
so is this one more in Ursander's checklist?
Yes, actually.
He named his son his... Yeah. No, now that you point it out, I can see that, this is what he's basically going through.
So, more to the point, this is the first fucking time he calls her daughter.
Does he? Really?
The first fucking time in the entire book. And I'll tell you why. When he adopted her, in chapter 12 of FOD, Gurren explicitly tells him, don't call her your daughter. Do you have any fucking idea how much that hurts someone? Think about this. And I bring this up because I'm going to get into more, but I want to bring this up now. Think about how Renar feels about this arrangement. Think about her father, who chose to die rather than be healed, so he could join his dead wife rather than live for his daughter. Think of his father that blessed the hand of the murderer of her fiancé. Think of her father who told her adoptive father never to call her daughter. Think of Gurren and his well-meaning, admittedly, actions and how they impact Renar. And then think of how Ursander had to abide by that oath throughout. And on top of being a shit father himself, how that would have morphed and, goddamn, dude.
Yes.
This is very similar to when Draconis acknowledges Zarathan in FOD, right? When he tells him to go find Raskin, and it's like, sir, I can't, I'm your bastard son. Like, no, you are the son of Draconis, go find him. It is similar in momentous.
Yeah, I meet your eyes.
Yeah. It is similarly momentous in as much as it is basically the first genuine sign of fatherly affection that Ursander or Draconis show to their children.
True.
And it's important because Ursander pretty much knows his time is up. He knows he's a figurehead. He knows he's probably not going to survive if Hunral gets power. He knows there's not very much he can do. And he knows Renar basically hates him and she has every reason to. So this is checklist. More on that later. So, Mother Dark shifts her attention to Ral with regards to his Scepter of Light and his intentions with it. Ral gladly grants it to Father Light, who takes it with little fanfare, just takes it, looks back, and returns attention to Mother Dark, the latter requesting his presence at her side. Ursander replies that he's scantily used to the ways of rule, much less faith. Mother Dark answers that rule is but a flavor, little different from his habits in the Legion. It is best maintained, she finds, with selective silence. Ursander agrees, albeit often individuals in his command begin to presume too much, and for all that he's been reluctant to serve discipline, instead waiting for the opportune moment. Now, since I'm in the habit, no. But since I am in the habit of quoting, I return you to chapter 9 of this book, and Anomander's Necessities of Proper Rule, which I mentioned earlier, wherein he says, "Live as if you believe in the virtues of your people, but rule without delusions, neither of them nor of yourself." Notably, Anomander's assertion of proper rule is vastly different to that of either deity. Not necessarily more correct, mind you, but it is more appropriate or more well-suited to his ruling the Teist. I bring this up for no reason. That is totally not going to become relevant till the Hounds. No, sir. So Mother concurs and further continues that in matters of faith, surely she has failed, but not to worry. Their priestesses will surely assemble the necessary responsibilities, prohibitions, prescriptions, etc. Father Light agrees, and indeed is certain that they soon will be told of the manner of worship demanded by their followers. All that's left is waiting until all is said and done, so they no longer fear any missteps born of ignorance. Father Light then steps up towards the day, setting his scepter into place and taking Mother Dark's hand. The two deities stand, hands clasped, viewing the chamber as though posing for posterity before sitting down. Hunral?
That's it.
Yeah,
Done.
that's it, done. And when our count concurs, Ursander had to clear the circus air before an assembly of witnesses, and therefore it is indeed done. Ral lets some vague, not so vague, threat hang in the air regarding a circ, and turns away. Renar sees the two priestesses converse with her deities, quietly, alas, and herself turns to leave the chamber before happening upon Rai's Harat. The historian asks for more about her for the official version, but Renar is having none of this, instead inviting him to invent what he requires. Rais insists, and Renar replies that perhaps later she will give him all that he needs, and more. I think you had an observation regarding this.
Did I? What? This. Yeah. No, not just this, but the rest of it. It's like Renar becomes more and more a figment of Galan's invention that Ursander died. Somebody on his own side killed him, probably with his own, with his semi-agreement to getting killed.
Yeah.
He's sort of happy about getting killed.
Yeah.
But it need not be this one person because, it's very blatantly Vice is asking that he wants to record her identity. And she says, would you have me the only one bit of truth in this flood of lies? And then later on, in her internal monologue, she keeps thinking that some choices have been made for her. She doesn't really choose these things. So, I don't know. She's just a vehicle in which you deliver this Ursander's death. That's pretty much her role in this whole story. She has some scenes in which, I see the point of her being this orphan child who is like, neither her mother nor her actual father, adoptive father. She doesn't find any acceptance by anyone anywhere. But regardless of all that, most of the story is her just blending into the background, just showing up, making some smart comments, and then the ultimate, the whole act of stabbing him in the back. So I'm not sure.
I think you brought it up. I think Renar's importance is indeed being orphaned and alone and whatnot. She is definitely, we've commented throughout the podcast that she is definitely empowered by the narrative. She sees through walls, she sees through people, she cuts through the bullshit, and so on.
You know why?
Why?
Because she never blinks.
Yeah. No, yeah,
She is the unblinking regard of history.
Yeah. I wonder who talked about that.
Who was it? Kadaspala?
No, that was me.
No.
The unblinking regard of history was Anamander and Kaladin. Yeah. But yeah. No, I mean, more broadly about Renar. She is, I think, insofar as her historicity goes, which I've also written about, I think it's important that she is a dispassionate orphan at Father Light's side, and I think it might be important that she kills him, specifically. Now, as to whether or not she prostitutes herself, whether or not she's as cynical she's portrayed, and her general outlook on things is a bit less clear. It's very important for the story to play out the manner that it does, because the book doesn't vindicate Renar's cynicism as such. It's not like everyone is like this. It's that being like this is wrong, and you should feel wrong about doing this. Yes, you may get ahead. Yes, you may do well in the moment, but ultimately, you're damning yourself. You're not gonna get ahead because there's going to be a bigger fish eventually, right? So in that sense, I don't think Renard's being vindicated in as much as her cynicism goes, but she is a very important witness. I've written about this as well. I'm plugging myself a lot here. I'm sorry. This is my podcast. I shouldn't do this. I've talked about this before. She is, what I said was the perfect spectator, right? She performs a choral function in as much as she's there both to witness and to discuss things. That's why she guts through the bullshit, like I've said a few times here already. Her purpose in the book, beyond killing Ursander, is to provide a more unbiased perspective. One that does not concur with these things that, they're necessary, She doesn't believe in the lie of necessity, which is why she is such an important character for Galan to use and place in scenes. That's why she's in chapter 1. That's why she's, witnessing the opening battle. That's why she's here, killing Ursander. That's why she is around to talk down Hunral to Ursander. That's why she discusses justice and all those virtues that Ursander's taken up with. She is very important to steer Ursander into this understanding of how Father Light as a title is supposed to function. compared to what, say, Kaladin would have Anamander be, a tyrant in the name of purity, a peace contained at all costs. Now imagine if you will, that someone like Kadaspala and Renar were never there to steer Ursander away from this notion of Forlk injustice. And he just went, okay, you're all dead. And he just smites them when he becomes a god. And he does the same thing for all Leosan. There would be no fucking Leosan afterward. So that's why it's very important that Renar and Kadaspala and Raisarat and similar other characters are around Ursander to talk to him, because there's a point to be made, right? Like when Rice told us earlier in this chapter that like there is no sorcery at play, it will be countered because otherwise there's no point being made. If you have Ursander become a tyrant god, there's no point being made. Okay? So ultimately I find myself somewhat agreeing with Mora, in as much as Renar may be created, maybe certainly embellished, but I think the key parts, the important parts, are still there, right? Of who she is and what she is and why.
Yeah. Have you read the last scene?
Yeah. So, scene 16, you can probably guess what I've called this.
There will be justice.
Yeah, thank you. Renar has retreated to Ursander. Yeah.
Can we just...
Yeah.
Can we just take a minute, please?
Yes.
This is the last scene of the current last book of Kharkanas that we were reading on the pod until Walk in Shadow comes out, which who knows how many years it's going to take. So, it's just been a long journey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been fun. Yeah. Now, yeah, let's continue.
I should further note, this is like one of my favorite scenes in the book, and in any book in the Malazan world. So I have a lot of notes. Anyway.
I think we should also mention that we did discuss this with Steve at the end of Force of Darkness before we started this.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us what he said?
I don't quite remember.
Don't?
I've read it on the wiki a few times, because the wiki quotes us, by the way. What I remember is he basically said that Renar is a dark mirror to Devor, and Ursander is in the company of a woman whom he does not understand, but she has very good reasons for doing what she's doing, right? That's how he put it, the cheeky bastard. Very good reasons.
I think he mentioned that you should look at the last line again, and then you quickly looked it up in front of Steve, seeing that very last line saying that he
lifeless,
peaceful
content,
and smiling.
Yeah. And he also did mention, what I think we brought up last part is one of the most important scenes in the book is in chapter 1 when like there's a little girl chasing a boy and smashing his face on. It's incredibly important thematically, and it sets up the whole rest of the novel, which I hope we've discussed a lot and appropriately talked about. I won't rehash it here; it's too long. It's not strictly relevant, but go listen to that episode with Steve. By the way, it's a good episode. Oh boy,
talk to him.
We're procrastinating. Let's get it on with. Let's get it over with. Yeah, okay. So Renar has retreated to Ursander's private quarters to get as far away from any reminders of the day's events as possible. Witness the battle had trained her, and it was a real shame that Hunral had prevailed on this day. She'd watched the battle amidst her company of prostitutes and near-feral children, and attempted, as she did more than once before, to visualize a different scene, a scene wherein her mother was in the press, but that was difficult. No, it was impossible, and it took her a moment to realize that's because her mother would have rejected this farce altogether. And here is another part where we can see Renar's privilege as a POV character. Mm-hmm. Her inability to conjure such a sheen is simultaneously, to me, an indication of how Renar views Shellas, and also Shellas being her mom. I'm going to bring up the name a lot, so yeah. Shellas is Renar's mom. It's both an indication of how Renar views Shellas, and also how Galan wants to frame this last scene, and how Steve, by extension, wants to frame the last scene. Is even this character whom I've given privilege over the scene to tell you what I want you to think, what like overall I'm thinking, can't think of this. It's unthinkable. It's untenable.
Unconscionable.
It's unconscionable.
Unconscionable.
Yeah, see? Yeah. Military honor is tied to service. Unable to stand on its own, tearing honor away from service and virtue rendered soldiers into thugs. Renar had stepped back at that realization to look onto the children gathered round, a semi-feral, neglected lot, broken but sharp-edged, existing in the realm of the discarded. What they witnessed around them is ultimately what morphs them. Soldiers playing at bullies, men and women all too eager to abandon dignity and propriety and love and honor and so on, in the name of material wealth. She calls it lessons on a pragmatic life. Scholars speak of progress, she thinks, but they must have erred somewhere. This isn't progress, this is elaboration. hiding the obscenities of the past under modernity's confusion. Her mother, Renard declares, would have put an end to this and forced Ersander to act in the name of honor, in the name of the soldier. So, Renard here elaborates on Galan and Henrald's paradigms of armor protecting honor from earlier and far less romantic and poetic language, because sometimes a poet needs to make things clear. This is far from the only castigation of Thais culture, but it is, for me, one of the sadder ones. Renard uses cynicism as a coping mechanism, a defense against her trauma, and anytime she tries to throw off that yoke and believe in the goodness of people, in honorable men and women, I shall soon say, the Thais seem to prove her wrong. Is it any wonder that she can't place her mother, the one idol she's held on to her entire life, even when she's declared, way back when, that it's too far and too abstract for her to grasp in the killing fields below? Way back when being chapter 7, by the way. Simultaneously, she echoes Rise Harat from earlier in the chapter. I return to you, once again, and I think the last, what willful idiocy obtains. But I've digressed too much. Renard walks around the rooms, all alone, stirring the ashes of her regret. She's got one last ember, which will ultimately be the metaphorical death of her, but she thinks that some things are chosen for us. The door swings open, and Ersander enters, smiling, and almost relieved to find her here. There are storms in the minds of the two deities, and storms between them. Of the latter, there may be calm ahead, but Ersander lets the other implication hang as he moves to the window. I have two things I want to mention here. Number one, you may or may not recall Serenas, in subchapter or other, come upon Grip Gallus and Pelk, and
it's when she's eating this frozen meat.
Grip asks her, like, who shan't you hear? And she's like, Ersander, by his command, by his utter uselessness.
Yeah.
I think this is similar. Both to what Mora said earlier, right? This is not Renard choosing against Galan, and Renard has a somewhat deeper understanding of her being in a play, in a tragedy, in a book, in a novel. But also, she didn't choose this being needing to kill her adoptive father. It was something that he himself basically chose. Or if not him, then Hunral for him, or Santara for him, and so on. Basically, her hand was forced externally, not by her own choice. But this must be done. No choice. No choice. Say it again and again. No choice.
How sad. But there's no choice.
The other thing I want to bring up is, in chapter 11, Shaltatha saw a secret in Renard. One she declared was the strongest thing she's ever seen. And Renard remarks that in the case of her secret, there is only patience.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did she wait all the way from the time she met Osirk to come and kill Ersander?
I don't think so. I don't think it goes quite that far back. I think chapter 1, like the end of chapter 1 would be a good indication. That's when, like, Ersander basically loses complete control. I don't know if it was as far back as Osirk. Maybe Galan set her up for that from the get-go. I don't know. Now, she asks him outright if he plans on dealing with Hunral.
Yeah.
First, Ersander replies that he once had ambitions in this regard, and moreover, Ral names himself the mortal sword of light, and that ought to make plain who serves whom. When Renard pushes further, Ersander leans past the windowsill to look down the window overlooking the sword, muttering about it keeps refuse. Does one build houses solely to keep the garbage out? Garbage ought to be buried. Renard replies that garbage buries itself eventually, and here I'll pause again. Do you have anything to add?
I just want to add that it's basically like Ersander is going on, turning his back, trying to, look, here is nice big target, go on.
His back was broad, but it now belonged to an aging man. There was sadness in this detail.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so Ersander makes what is, for me, a very interesting point. Obviously through an allegory, because this is Galan we're talking about, but bear with me. What is the purpose of building a civilization and an orderly society, and can that purpose be reduced to what Harat was speaking of, or Proc, or even fucking Gothos? I can't believe I'm still quoting him. I'm sorry. I promised that would be the last time. It's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can that purpose be reduced to keeping undesirables out and entrenching cultural values, and by extension doom itself to inevitable extinction, like Renard said? Because once Renard declared that the downfall of civilization hides in the innumerable exceptions law makes to bend around the powerful. And if so, big assumption, if so, what can civilization do to deal with the garbage? I don't think the book offers an answer to this. And I like that it doesn't offer an answer to this. It offers you a lot of different perspectives. Sure, Gothos tells you that civilization is bound to fail because of its intrinsic properties, but that's not to say it's necessarily bad. When Herat speaks of, a civilization of friends and family before, the notions of strangers existed, but then he thinks, okay, but strangers is a word inherently tied to the creation of civilization, since we are abandoning notions of personhood and family and belonging to us and the other. And so when Aristander asks, okay, so why do we build keeps? Just to keep the garbage out? What's the point? Very similar point. And also, and more importantly, he calls Hodral garbage. And I'm petty like that. I really like that. To a certain extent, Renard even agrees with him. He didn't deal with him in time, and I can't forgive you that. But what's occurred here isn't perforce failure. So, just a bit more to go, like 3 pages. Don't worry, we're almost there.
Yes.
Aristander then declares that Ral is Centaura's problem, since setting forth his own laws and prohibitions would only lead to their being corrupted, twisted, malformed, reduced to naught but self-serving prescriptions. And while I can't wholly agree with everything Aristander says on the matter, the purity of law he seeks is simply not achievable in the manner he tries to achieve it. I think we spoke of this last episode, from chapter 25. This much, at least, we can declare, with hindsight. Recall that Averell quote I mentioned earlier? To be right on the money. His words do get malformed and twisted and corrupted and reduced to naught but self-serving prescriptions. Oh boy. Renard then asks if they have seen the last of honorable men and women, and Aristander replies that the brutes are in ascension, and against that, reason has no chance. You think the blood has ended? I fear it is only beginning. Nothing has been solved in the end. This civilization is still going down the chute along with the rest of the garbage. But Aristander answers that he wasn't the one to solve this, and Renard knew this. And I'm here to say, of course she fucking knew this. No shit she knew this. Aristander is, and has virtually always been, a figurehead. He never held any tangible power. All his reforms relied on the goodwill of the nobility and the royalty, i.e. the ones that hold actual power in Cold Galen, and those that stand to lose the most if Aristander's reforms actually take place. Renard thinks in chapter 19 that when Aristander takes power, he's going to force as much justice into this realm as he can handle. It should come as no surprise that Aristander is not the man to solve this. If we take Rise's line of reasoning from chapter 24, it falls to every member of society to solve this, starting from the very top, starting from the aristocracy, the royalty, the highborn, down to the very lowest peasants, but chief among them, the fucking guys at the top. The guys that are pulling the strings. Even if Aristander's laws were perfectly just, which they can't be, he can't fix this, He can't fix the issues, the systemic issues inherent in Cold Galen, because he doesn't have the power to do so. You can't put out the fire from inside the house, I think the idiom goes. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything to add? Or
No, I'm waiting for you to get to the good parts.
Okay. So, Aristander then pivots to asking about a Cirque, whose judgment Renard considers to be in error, much to Aristander's surprise. Many people remain surprised at people going easy on them, Emerald was like, well, I expected this to go worse. Kilaris is surprised when Nomander just goes very well. And here, Aristander's surprised when she just says his judgment was in error. A young man will yearn for responsibility. Nomander is Puric. Yeah, sorry. And he will see honor and duty as uncompromising virtues to strive for. From such a position, any mistakes made remain well meant. So, do you remember what I said earlier of a checklist? Yeah, he's at least attempting to make amends with Renard here and ensure a decent future for his son. Again, it's probably too little and too late, both for Renard and for us, but he gives the impression of a man, to me, that's willingly marching to his own destruction, and he simply wants to make sure his conscience is eased at the end of things. He wants to make sure that everyone understands that if he is going to be martyred, that he never supported this cause to begin with. And I don't know.
Yeah.
This strikes me as very tragic hero-esque, I feel it's not typical of my tongue. There's probably some play or other. This does seem like a very common theme throughout mythology. I can't think of someone going in willingly. Think of Brucalion, right? He knows he's fucked, but he does what he does in order to prove that he is not a traitor. He's not a betrayer. He's not. He still holds to his virtues even at the very end.
No, he goes to his death because he's stupid with honor.
Yeah, okay. He is stupid with honor.
They know it. He knows
but Aristander is also stupid with honor. So there's that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, almost there. Something in Renard is evidently broken. Cirque had misapprehended the situation and killed her loved one, and yet, Alexander wonders if she forgave him. Renard replies that she wishes he had dealt with Hunral, stood behind his sense of justice. He didn't, because he had declared no compromises and no exceptions. Had he done what was right each and every time, perhaps things would be different. But he didn't. And now here he stands, Father Light. I really like this exchange. I don't know if I've said this before. I don't know if you could guess, but I really like this exchange.
Is this Kadaspala and the portrait?
No, I mean, yes, that too, but I mean this one beforehand, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Wherein it kind of dawns on Ursander of, like, what Renard is playing at. Of how, like, I think we've already established that he goes in knowing he's gonna die, you know? That he is mostly at terms with it. But I don't think he understands the extent of Renard's trauma and unregulated feelings that she may have held.
Probably, yeah.
I think this kind of is when it dawns on him, like, oh, I really did hurt you, didn't I? Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna continue before I get sad. Okay.
No. I think it's just, you know, it's very easy to write off Urisander the way I did for most of this reread, that he's just this useless, just standing there, just doing nothing. But the more I approach the end, yeah, it feels very tragic. It feels more tragic than, you know, someone that I can just easily hate.
Dislike, yeah.
It's not easy to hate
right
him.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the reason for that is because he's principled. Like, even if he won't necessarily hold to those principles and act on them, because those very principles kind of disbar him from acting. So rather than breach those principles, he decides, no, I'm not going to do that. He gives Kant a run for his money. Like, you think you're going to let a murderer into your house because you can't lie? Watch me, asshole. And he takes a very...
is also stuck by indecision because he has so many things pulling him from every side. Anamander is going through the same thing, but we like him easily, right?
Who spoke of that in the prologue, I wonder? Who said this in the prelude, or...
Yeah, I have no idea. Who was this?
A man pushed from many hands will go in but one direction, no matter what he wills?
Yeah, it's not just about Anamander. It's this guy also.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Book 4 of Full of Light is titled The Most Honorable Man, and it is a very good assumption, and indeed, I go that hazard is correct, to assume it's Anamander. But it's not just Anamander, because, as Galan told you, it's not Anamander's tale alone. I really like this book. I don't know if it shows. Okay. Let's go talk about my boy. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, Ursander then asks her if she's seen it, his portrait in the corridor as painted by Kadaspala. She didn't notice it. She rarely gives regard to art, especially compromised art, and Ursander questions if all art is a compromise and says that Kadaspala would probably agree. Now, in my eyes, Kadaspala would probably assert that all art is certainly political, and we can definitely say that Kadaspala here would probably agree with Renard with regards to his portrait of Ursander being compromised. I have a quote, which I'll save for the next scene.
Why?
But, should I? No? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So, I haven't actually written down what chapter it is. It's somewhere in the footy. Like chapter 7, maybe? Anyway. Kadaspala says, I have painted a man worthy of being her husband. They will see his strength, his resolute integrity, because these lie on the surface. They will not see the underside of such things. The cruelty beneath strength, the cold pride behind that stern resolution, the blade of judgment grasped firm in integrity's hand. They will see in his stance his soldier's discipline and the burdens assumed without complaint, yet see nothing of withered empathy or unreasonable expectation. In the tones they will find warmth with but a hint of the underlying metal, and in so seeing they will understand nothing of that melding of fire and iron and all that it promises. Ursander, I see you. I face you now in the failing light, and you frighten me to the core.
Yeah, that's very nice.
I bring this up because Ursander then rests his hands on the windowsill, lamenting, or maybe not, the fact that he is not to be forgiven, and asks Renard to tell them of the likeness, so deftly, so honestly captured by that blind man's hand.
This is as good as saying goodbye. This is as good as saying, bye Renard, tell them I love them, or something like that.
Renard replies that Kadaspala was not blind when he painted Ursander. The latter concurs, demonstrably not, as far as that goes. And Renard declares, Fatha Ursander, there will be justice. I brought the quote up.
And he actually nods. He actually nods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ursander nods one last time before Renard's blade sinks to his shoulder, slipping past his ribcage and tilling his heart. She steps back, leaving the knife in Father Light's back. He slips forward, hitting his head on the way down. On his face, there lies a smile. Peaceful, content, lifeless. So I brought up the quote earlier from Kanaspala because I really like this verbal sparring. Ursander paints a really pretty picture of a blind man, painting him so honestly, since one of Ursander's main gripes since the very beginning of the chapter, like certainly of this book, I don't remember when exactly he says this in FOD, but anyway, in chapter 1 of this book, he speaks to Serap about how depthless, how incapable of capturing the depth and likeness of his character the portrait is. To it, I would say Ursander's partly wrong, but I don't think his gripe is necessarily so much with the portrait itself. I don't think he minds Kadaspala's skill in art or how good he is at painting him. What I think he minds is how will be remembered. He will be reduced to that one-dimensional note of what Kadaspala says. They will see this, they will see that, they will not see this. They will not see the cruelty beneath strength. They will only see what I want them to see. What they want to see. And that's what Ursander rails against when he says, yeah, so he captured me really honestly. The blind bastard. They don't...
But
yeah?
That's what Galan is doing for the rest of the characters here. We're only seeing what Galan has been choosing to show us.
Yes.
Renar. Yeah, that's all.
No doubt. No, I don't mean in the sense that how we're seeing them. I mean how posterity will see them. How Galan portrays them is a whole other matter. Because I don't think Ursander's quite this verbose to say this in his final moments. But more to the point, I think Renar repeating no, I don't think he goes blind. Reminder, Renar hasn't seen the portrait, right? But perhaps she understands the depth that Kadaspala would have imparted on the portrait. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But I think that this is simultaneously a when she says there will be justice, right? There are many layers to this. I think you would agree. There's obviously the most prominent one of Renar's delivering justice by killing Vathor Ursander, who for his inability to deal with Unral, right?
Yeah.
It's also a promise, because I brought up in the last part, the very end, that Kaladin says the titles of Mother Dark and Featherlight are not just titles, they're not just that. They carry power, and to not see that is being a fool. And Mother Dark speaks to him. Before he arrives here, they speak with Mother Dark, and I suppose, a large reason of why Ursander is so calm going in is because Mother Dark has explained to him what will happen to him in the event of his death, you know? And moreover, I think it's a threat in a way that no, you're not quite hot shit that you think you are. That maybe posterity will paint you as terrible. Because maybe you really are like that, deep inside. Which is a point Nif makes a lot. It's not a point I agree with, to be honest. But it is an interesting point, and I would be amiss not to mention it. Is that what Renar is saying here, maybe what Kadaspala imparted on that portrait, that cruelty beneath strength, is representative of who you are, and they do see it. It's just you who doesn't. So when posterity speaks of you in these tones of, a paragon, a beacon of justice, of uncompromising justice, of pure, unsullied justice, as it were, they will speak of cruelty. They will speak of lack of empathy. And here we can point at the assail, and think, yep, those are the guys you were idolizing, asshole. But Nif has done enough for me, I'm not going to do it as well. So, yeah, there will be justice.
This rooms which Ursander has been given, 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vathor Ursander had been given a series of opulent rooms, as if anticipating a delay in the consummation of his marriage to Mother Dark. Is this something these guys actually expect? That these two gods are going to consummate their marriage, this sham marriage?
I mean...
Maybe it's used in a different sense of the word, I don't know.
Isn't consummation of a marriage, fairly... I do remember Taurus Redan mentions this, right? That there can be a Mother Dark and a Father Light without one.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not a metaphor, or maybe it is, in as much as the consummation in this case would be more metaphorical. I'm not sure what the metaphor would be. I can't think of it quite right now. I think I view it as both. I think I view it both as literal, in the sense that yes, we really do expect them to consummate the marriage, which is
all sorts of weird.
Yeah. And also you can view it as metaphor, in as much as they're not literally expecting them to bang, but rather reach some belated conclusion, perhaps, or some understanding, some I don't know.
See, all that just sounds like a euphemism.
It does.
Right. So no, I don't really have much to add here because you've gone so much in depth here.
Thank you. Okay, let's wrap this up. There's one more scene in which Galan's being a tease, and because the first thing he says when he finishes his book is "nothing ends."
Yeah.
And I ask you, dear listener, I suppose not viewer, what is a more appropriate way to end your novel by declaring that nothing ends?
Yeah.
Galan speaks of three distinct things comprising existence: matter, energy, and potential, the latter of which infuses both the former, yet also stands alone. Only in the realm of potential, Galan says, we are capable of acting. It is indeed the realm in which we live, in our stubborn battle with success and failure. So here, I have a philosophical side note, which I may or may not share. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit late. Yeah. I don't think anyone cares, so I might skip it.
What is it?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It's a digression. So, broadly speaking, and I don't quite understand this as well as I would like to speak of this, so I invite you to look into it more if you're able to, because I'm going to butcher it in all probability. Anyway, broadly speaking, what Galan speaks of here may be considered part of what's called the theory of categories, which is the thing originating from Aristotle, which categorizes the different aspects of being. Different philosophers have recognized different numbers of these categories. Aristotle wrote of 10, Kant about 14, Hegel of around 270, Descartes only 2. The highest with which we are concerned with, per Galen's paradigm, are matter, energy, and potential. Kant also spoke of two distinct worlds, the world of things in themselves, which we are incapable of grasping, and things as we perceive and understand them via our human experience, that is the world we inhabit, noumena and phenomena, respectively. Doesn't matter, look them up. Not gonna bore you with the details. Galan is making something of a similar argument, in as much as that the world we inhabit is fundamentally different from other worlds which we can't directly perceive or influence. And you can probably guess that where I'm going with this. This is a metaphor for magic. This is ultimately about magic. Magic is inherently ineffable and incomprehensible. I think the dictionary definition which Steve uses is mysterious and inexplicable. I don't quite recall. I might link the essay if I remember too, which he wrote about magic. It exists within the realm of possibilities, a realm which while we are capable of directly influencing and existing within, are incapable of fully grasping and perceiving. And for that matter, everybody is incapable of fully grasping and perceiving magic, regardless of their station. That includes Cruel. That includes the guy that gave everyone magic. Even he doesn't quite understand exactly what he did. So, yeah. When he speaks of potential, this is what he means. This is, rather not this in the sense that he makes a Kantian argument, but in the sense that potential here is a metaphor for magic. Nonetheless, the mortals persist, since of the two, success and failure, only one ends the game. You can probably guess which. Galan then addresses Fisher. He can see the shock writ deep upon his lined face, but even now, even in the midst of despair and dread, it must be clear to him that...
It's a love story.
Yeah. Thank you. So now the tale must end for the moment, to let the poet take a breather. Warriors, Galan says, are of course incapable of grasping such concepts. Their world is naught but destruction and despair. The glory of the belligerent, the lusting for blood from the poets Galan decries, is akin to the girl with a stone crushing a boy's face for any particular slight, which you can find back in chapter 1. What comes next, however, is a new kind of glory, one of sorcery, existing due to potential, and with a newfound burgeoning of magic. Let's see what the Teist make of it. And we're done.
Yeah? Shit. We finished?
We finished. This has been Full of Light by Steven Erikson.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It was certainly an experience.
It was, yeah.
I wish I had more to say. Honestly, I don't have much more to say.
Most of this, silences will get cut out when we edit it finally.
Yeah.
But I think people should know that we've just spent several seconds not talking because we really don't have anything to say at this point of time.
Yeah. So I suppose the only thing left to say...
We have finished
yeah.
reading so many books, and we're left with the novellas and the actual Book of the Fallen. That's all we've not tackled.
Yeah.
So, Walk in Shadow.
Walk in Shadow. We're probably going to do another episode on, Walk in Shadow, and obviously a read-along series when it comes out. But
yeah,
for the moment, I don't know. What is there? What is there left to say?
No, I think we should wind up.
Yeah. So I guess the only reasonable way to close this would be, thank you so very much for listening. It has been a long journey.
One fun journey.
One fun journey. And we hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we did. And we hope to see you next time. Whenever next time may be.
Yes.
This is not goodbye. We're still going to make more episodes, don't worry. But
No, we should be saying nothing ends.
nothing ends. Ah, there you go. See, this is why Mora runs the podcast, not just he. Yeah, so nothing ends, as it were.
Yes.
So, thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Lee.
Thank you, Mora.
Yeah.
And we'll
Bye.
catch you next time. Goodbye.